Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Porch Talk. This is episode 7 in our Boys Join the Porch series. This episode is sponsored by Wyatt pole holders. If you have fishing poles that you would like to display safely on the wall, or just need a way to get them off the floor, Wyatt pole holders has what you need. Sold on Etsy, he has a nice selection of fishing racks to fit your needs. Pine, oak, and poplar are just some of the wood used to craft these beautiful racks. Engravings are also available upon request.
If you live in Southwest Virginia, Southern West Virginia, or Eastern Kentucky, and find yourself looking for an equipment rental, give Cantrell Holdings Equipment Rentals a call at 276-596-3078. They have rentals available for any job, big or small. Give their Facebook page a like and follow them to learn more about their equipment rental options, including their operator services.
So we're back here with Thomas Burniston. He's joining us again. And we got Rusty. I think he's going to step in here at some point. And we're going to go over some of the hot topics in sports right now. Mainly, well, at least firstly, the college football playoff selection. Kind of give our opinions on it, instant reaction, and maybe our predictions as well. And then we'll touch a little bit on the NFL. And then also college basketball. I mean, we're just getting started with it, and we haven't really talked about it at all. Me and Jay Moore's mentioned it a few times on the podcast, and we're going to try to touch on it a little bit, just kind of give some predictions and players to watch, and just hit on a little bit of that, and who knows where the conversation might end up, but that's what we're going to start with anyway. So, college football playoff, biggest topic in sports right now. Michigan, number 1. Alabama at 4. That'll be your first matchup. And then Washington at the 2 seed and Texas at 3. So just to start this off, I know everybody's, big question mark on this is Florida State. So, Jay Moore, what do you think about Florida State being left off?
I think if you want better games, then you probably leave them out, but I don't think they deserve to be left out. I think they should have been in. I don't think at some point. I don't think it's about. There's a certain point there you shouldn't sacrifice whether something's a good games are better or not for the sake of the integrity of the sport almost, or especially in college like that. It just doesn't sit right. We made a team going 13-0 and winning their conference and not making it. And it would almost be better. Like I probably could have got over it if they'd have had them moved them back out of the top 4 and moved them back to like 5 or 6 or something a couple of weeks ago. As soon as Travis got hurt, but they didn't. They left them right there. So in my opinion, if you don't want them in there, you move them before all this happens. Once you leave them there and then they win, you can't move them after that. Like that's the problem I had with it was. You're telling them, I don't know. In my opinion, you're telling them, hey, you're the 4th best team still. So that's what they're thinking if you still have them ranked there. Because the committee has the power. Just because they hadn't lost yet, they can move them wherever they wanted to. So they should have done it before this week, and then that wouldn't have been as big a deal. To me, it's just you can't leave them there, and then they win and leave them out.
Yeah, Thomas, on that same topic, what do you think about Florida State being left out?
Yeah, I agree. I think it kind of devalues the regular season games a little bit, especially. And it's one thing like in sports like figure skating, you have like subjective views, but we have some objectives in football that we can go off of. You have like strength of schedule, record, overall record, wins and losses, and Florida State really checked all those boxes. It's not fair. We haven't really seen them too much with this backup quarterback, and I don't think it's really fair to judge them off. They may not be as good as they were or they've shown all year, and the defense is undeniable. So I think it's a shame for the sport. I think they're probably not a top 4 team, but like Jamar said, for the integrity of the sport, I think they messed up.
Yeah, and I mean, we're all, I think, going to be on agreement on this, and I know Logan would have differed a little bit, but I agree completely with what you all are saying, and especially what Jamor was saying about the previous rankings. And me and him had talked about it the other day. I think that if the quarterback issue was a thing, then they should have put them back weeks ago, and that way you could have probably eased some of this, like the pain, I guess, for Florida State. But at the same time, for me, two things. One, I don't like what message it sends to kids, and like you said, the integrity of the sport's kind of along the same lines. So to me, it shows that the individual matters more than the team. And I know that Jordan Travis is, he's a big player, their star guy, but I think it sends the wrong message to kids. But more importantly, I think that something that's not being mentioned at all is Texas has their star player out too. Now, I know it's not the quarterback, but Jonathan Brooks is maybe, in my opinion, maybe their best player. He's had a terrific year. And I mean, like I said, I know it's different because it's running back position, but Worthy's also questionable. I do think, kind of like what you said, Thomas, I do think it's probably the best four, but I'm not sure if I was in that committee that's what I would have voted for. And it also devalues the ACC because now that's a Power 5 conference, and they were undefeated, won their conference championship, and they're out. So what message does that send to the ACC? And I don't think teams like Florida State were already on the fence about staying anyway. So, I mean, I think that's going to push out all your top teams if they can get out.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things about.
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say I think that's one of the best things about college football is how important every game is and how hard it is to win each week. And somebody who didn't lose at all the entire season didn't make it in. I think that takes away from it a little bit.
I don't think it devalues the ACC as much as what it may appear that it is, because they're pretty blatantly blatant about it's just the fact that they're not as talented as the four that are left without the quarterback. I know it kind of looks like they're saying, "Oh well, you don't matter because it's just the ACC." So it's just mainly about that one injury. I don't think it really devalues the ACC. I think if you do go through the ACC, you have to be have to be healthy going forward, which next year won't matter anymore. But also at the same time, the Texas thing, he is out, but they put up 49 points last week, so that's kind of that helps them a lot in their case. My big argument was if they're really looking for the best four teams, then why isn't Georgia in it? I mean, they're number one all year. They lose to apparently who they think's Alabama. They think pretty highly of them. So if your only loss is to Alabama, then Georgia should have an argument that they're probably better. If they're talking about going matchups, who would win what games and matchups, I would probably pick Georgia in for sure 2 of those games, and then I would pick them to beat Bama in a rematch. And Michigan's really the only one that I would think would have would play with them. And I told somebody the other day that's why the professionals have a series and not one game, because the best team doesn't always win one game, but the majority of the time the best team pulls it out in a series. That's the problem with college is basketball the same way. It's one game. You can't really do it another way. But if you're looking at teams that can win one game, Georgia has an argument. As much as I hate them, Ohio State has a good argument. If Michigan's their only loss, that's why I think you just put Florida State in, because you can't go by that. There's too many teams around that 5 to 8 range that have a really good argument. So just go with the team that's went undefeated and earned that spot. It would have saved a lot of. I mean, yeah, it might have not been a great game. I mean, I'm sure who would they have played it? So they've been 4, I guess. So they'd play Michigan. It wouldn't have been competitive. Probably Florida State's defense might have kept it low scoring, so it might not have been, crazy blowout. They might have even worked on some stuff to, to be good enough to make it close. I wouldn't think they would. I think Michigan would handle them pretty easily, but they've earned that right to get killed if that's what would happen, in my opinion. But I guess it's what they wanted was the best teams, but I don't like that argument because of what I said. You have 2 or 3 other teams that could make the same argument that anybody else is making.
Yeah, and I think that kind of along the same lines of what you're saying. I mean, if you're going to put them out, then why not just put them behind Georgia and behind Ohio State?
Yeah.
Because at that point, you already decided that Alabama and Texas is better than them, so just go ahead and move them on back.
Yeah.
Because to me, that would make more sense.
Yeah, you can't tell me that you think that they'll – where they end up putting them at 5?
Yeah, they're 5. Yeah,
you
right
can't
out.
tell me that committee can't sit there and honest with a straight face say they think they'd beat Georgia or Ohio State or probably even
Oregon.
Without Travis. I mean, it's not true. They wouldn't. So like you said, that's another thing. I hadn't thought about that. They really shouldn't have put them in the top 5 either. They should have moved them back.
Yeah.
But at that point, you've already done the damage. Like, just be honest about it and move them on back. I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good point.
Yeah, and they're scared of the TCU situation that happened last year. That's what keeps getting brought up. But to me, I mean, TCU won their first game last year.
Yeah.
So I think they earned that right to
I hate
now that
people
they got
bring it
killed.
up.
But
yeah.
And that'd be different if they got in the first round and got killed. But they beat a Michigan team last year. It was a high scoring game. So I don't like that argument. But it's also kind of sad for Jordan Travis because if y'all saw his tweet, he was almost like, I mean, he was very apologetic, like it was his fault, because that's the way he felt. Because he's the reason why they didn't make it. Now, it was an injury, he can't help that, but I think that was kind of sad to see.
He's been the ultimate professional about it, I think.
Yeah. And something's crazy, and as Rusty's joining the chat here, he shared it, and I also shared it.
Or zoom out of them or something.
Yeah. There he is. So, Russ, you can jump in here with us. We're talking about the playoffs. So, something that you sent in the chat, and I had sent it as well. Presidential candidate Ron DeSantis is asking for $1 million to let Florida State sue the College Football Committee over their decision. So, since you just jumped in, what are your thoughts on that? And what's your thoughts on Florida State being left out?
Well, I understand why he's getting into it. It makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I can see why people were upset about it. I mean, they did win the ACC championship. They went undefeated. They did do everything that they were supposed to do. But are they really one of the 4 best teams in that could have been picked? I don't think so. But you got a lot of people that still think that they deserve to be in there. As far as DeSantis goes, I just think he needs to stick to politics. I don't think he needs to be doing anything with that. Like, I don't really that has no. I mean, I think he's just trying to, keep the people of Florida, happy, and him, keep his name out there because he's not going to win the, president. He's definitely not going to be president of the United States, so he's got to keep Florida happy. But I mean, I think it's a little bit petty, to be honest with you, everything that Florida State's doing right now, because I seen that they canceled the press conference for the Orange Bowl. They don't even want to play in this game. And they probably know that if they play Georgia, they're probably going to get spanked. And it's really not going to work out for them anyways. So that's my thoughts on it.
Let me jump in real quick, because the being petty thing is kind of ridiculous take, I honestly think. But
how so, though?
I just feel like they should be able to do and say whatever they want at this point after what they did to him.
So completely, they don't even want to play in the Orange Bowl.
I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to play either. Half of Georgia's players probably won't play. A lot of Florida State starters won't play. I'm sure if they do make them go play. There's no starters probably going to play in that game. Unless Georgia's maybe, but I doubt it. Why would they? Why would Bowers play when he's already hurt? He was playing 75% last week. Why would he play? Why would their receiver that was hurt play? I mean, I don't see many of them playing unless they just want to go out. I mean, I
I
guess
mean,
just
hurt is one thing. I mean, if they're hurt and they are already NFL prospects, I can see why you wouldn't play. But I mean, this is when you get into an opinionated thing, whether or not should they play or should they sit out. Now, Kendall Milton is one of our top running backs. Him and Dejon Edwards. Kendall Milton's done said that he's not going to leave his brothers out in the field and him not play. And he's an NFL prospect. Now, he's not a top running back prospect. But, I mean, when you get into that, well, are they going to play or should they play? I mean, you're going to have people agree to disagree and everything on that. Now,
I mean, I think they should all play myself. I just think it's wild to call them, say they're being petty when that happened to them, is what I'm saying.
well, I mean, when things don't go your way, because Georgia's one of the top four, is definitely one of the top four teams. But I've not seen anybody after Sunday. That was it. All right, we're on to the Orange Bowl. It's what it is. But they're legit, still crying about it, which I understand. But still,
I mean, on that
you got to
same
move
thing,
on
because
from it. There's no change in the outcome. Like you can't. Like now, you've got the governor of Florida is wanting to sue for what?
well, I'm sure that, like you said, has to do with some votes. But on that same, what you're saying right there, Georgia hasn't. I mean, like you said, nobody's really. Well, some people have been arguing the Georgia point about being in the top four. But
Fans.
On this same topic
Who?
here,
Wait a minute,
while
what did
you're
he say
on
fans
it,
have?
he said fans. Yeah, fans.
I'm not a fan, and you got a bit late, and I said y'all had just as good an argument as
I'm talking
anybody
about
before you got
Georgia
on.
fans. I mean,
I
there's
know.
been Georgia fans.
I'm not a Georgia fan at all, and I made an argument that you all have just as good just as much argument as anybody else that y'all aren't in earlier.
Yeah.
So it's not just
I'm
Georgia
just saying.
fans.
I'm
Well,
just
that was
saying
going to be my question. Like, what for you? Instant reaction: Georgia being left out, and that in the SEC game. What's your instant reaction on that?
I mean, they put the team that beat Alabama in, and they put Alabama in, the team that beat us. Are we one of the best four teams? Yes. It is what it is. I mean, it sucks because I think a 29-game winning streak and 2 national championships back to back, should have kept us in there because we lost to Alabama the first year. In 2021, we lost to Alabama, and it wasn't even as close. And we still got in. They still put us in. So, I mean, we didn't get in. It is what it is, honestly.
Well, I think this is it's a tense issue. I think you can see on social media, everybody's been arguing about it. And I'm sure it's, on the campuses and stuff, it's even worse. This is an issue that's not going to go away. It's going to be echoed throughout the whole bowl season. So we'll get in more conversations about it. But the games on hand, let's talk about them a little bit. Let's just start Michigan versus Alabama. Thomas, who do you have in that one? In a matchup that, in my opinion, without getting into it yet, I think these are the two best teams.
Yeah, I got Michigan from the start. The first episode we did rankings, I had Michigan number one. I still think they're the best team. As far as Alabama being the second best team, I don't know. I wasn't high on Washington earlier, but I don't know, they kind of won me over a little bit. I think beating a team like Oregon twice is probably the most impressive feat this year. So I still think I'd put them number two. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good game. Good coaching, good defenses. I think it's gonna be good. But I think Michigan's gonna pull it out. I just think they're better than everybody else.
Jamar, what's your take on Michigan versus Alabama?
I hope to God Michigan wins. But you give Nick Saban 2 weeks instead of a regular week, it makes a difference in my opinion. That's why they're so good at these playoff games, is they get that extra time to prepare, I think. That's why just because they struggled throughout the year with some of them teams on a week-to-week basis, I think it's harder to get ready for those, turn right back around and play games. But when you give them time to prepare, a coach like him, that's when they are at their best. So I think they could give them a real game, but I think Michigan pulls it out. I think it's a close one.
You all, I think they're as hot as they've been all year. Different team, I would argue now versus the team that played Texas earlier on in the year. I know you wasn't too high on Michigan during some of our older episodes. As far as this matchup goes, who do you have with Michigan versus Alabama?
I got Bama. I mean, I kind of attest to what Jamar said. I think you give Saban a couple weeks. I mean, he's going to have it all figured out. And I mean, you got to give Michigan props. They played good ball, and even with all the, I was a little hard on them earlier in the year. I didn't really feel like they were as good as what they ended up really being, especially with Harbaugh not being there. I think that they've really proved themselves. But I give it to Alabama. I think they're a little bit more balanced. I mean, I'm not saying their offense is not good. I think it is good. Their defense is really good, but I think Milroe, if he plays as good as he can, I think he's gonna be an X factor, especially on offense.
Yeah, so for me, I had Michigan winning it all on our maybe in our very first episode. I don't remember more I don't know if we did our predictions on the first episode, second one.
Maybe our second one. I can't remember.
Maybe our second one. So I had them win. No, I was definitely off on the Clemson being on the Final Four part, but I had them winning it all. So I'm going to stand by that, and I think they will beat Alabama. I think there's a lot of hate that's coming on Michigan's side right now because, these videos are out about how they were kind of down on having to play Bama opposed to Florida State, that instant reaction they had in that, whatever that conference room or whatever they were in. But in my opinion, and this might be a hot take, I don't think that Alabama and Milroe has solid defense like Michigan all year. Well, besides maybe Texas. And, we could argue that maybe that was just him in that system not being comfortable yet. Maybe that was why they struggled against them. But I know that Georgia's defense is good, but I think that Michigan's defense is the best defense maybe in the country and the best defense that he's going to see all year. Having Harbaugh be out and then now he's back, he's back for the Big Ten championship as well, but having him back, that's a lot of motivation. And this team has been a team that's thrived off of motivation, off of all the hate, off of the scandal, and that's also a separate topic. And I'm sure if they do win it, that'll be brought up quite a bit. But I'm going with Michigan, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think it'll be about a 2-touchdown game. I think people are really overlooking the defense that Michigan has. So, I think three of us, I guess, we have Michigan in there, and then one with Alabama. But the other matchup, which I think is very intriguing, and kind of what Thomas said, Washington has proved that they earned that spot. Contrary to one of our buddies, and I wish was in here, he could argue this point, but I think Washington deserves to be in there. They have won against a lot of top-ranked teams. I think the Pac-12 has been a lot better conference this year. Penix is a legit Heisman contender. Their defense has struggled, but it's came up clutch in big games. Now they're going against Texas, who is without their running back, but they still got Ewers there, and their defense is still there, and it's stout. So I'll go ahead and give my prediction, and I think that Washington and that coach, man, he is great in big games. I think Penix is going to play great in this game, and it's going to be a close one, but I see them coming out with it. Maybe less than a touchdown, but I have Washington winning. Thomas, I'll go ahead and bounce it to you. What are your thoughts on Washington versus Texas?
Yeah, that's what I touched on earlier. I think Washington's the second best team. Their defense is, like you said, has struggled, but I'm not convinced that Texas's offense is better than Oregon's, and to beat a team like Oregon twice, I think that means their defense can stand up to an offense that's prolific like that. But yeah, all the same things you said about Washington and their coach and their quarterback and the way they've looked all year. I think Washington's the second best team. I see them coming away with it.
Jay Moore, who do you have in Texas and Washington? Because I know you had Texas in our preseason predictions. You had them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I was one team away, I think, because I think I had Michigan, Texas, Florida State, and no, I had Georgia, so I had two teams. But I wanted to point out you also had what was that we was talking about a while ago? Well, we'll get off. We done got off. I'm moving on. I had another counter argument to something we was talking about earlier, but I'll get back off of it. But I want Texas to win, but I'm kind of with you all. I think without their running back, they're not the same team. I think they're still pretty good, but I think Washington has been through enough of these games this year, these big games. The reason they're getting the doubt, I guess is what you call it, is the same reason that Bama's getting the nod, I think, is because historically the Pac-12 is a little bit overrated, I think. So same as the SEC, every year is really, you just look at it, it's like, oh, okay, it's SEC, put them, they're good, which is granted, there's a reason for that because it's historically it's true. It's not like they're just making this up. And the Pac-12 historically here a little bit has been a little overrated. I think this Washington team is different than normal, and I think they actually are that good, and will live up to the ranking and the hype. So I take Washington. I think it'll be a close game though. It probably come down to Washington's defense making more plays than Texas. So I'll take Washington, I think.
Rusty, you're the last one here. Who do you have? Washington versus Texas, and do you think that Washington deserves a spot in that Final Four?
I mean, they've pretty much done. I mean, they've done exactly what they were supposed to do. They went undefeated. They beat Oregon twice when they were the underdog both times. I kind of agree. I don't really think the Pac-12 is, it's not a defense dominant conference, anyways. It's like I don't remember the last time there was a team in the Pac-12 that had one of the top defenses. I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong.
Utah.
So usually, Utah, but
probably.
I mean,
not
like
this
most
year,
of the time,
but...
like Oregon, and like a lot of teams, they high scoring offenses. So that's what the Pac. When I think of the Pac-12, that's what I think of. But I think Texas is going to win, but I think it's going to be close, and I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be really close.
So I guess we can go ahead and we'll make our final predictions. Who you think is going to win it all? I'll go ahead and just tell you mine. I think, like I said, I think it'll be Michigan versus Washington in the final. As a person, I guess with my head, I think Michigan's going to win this. With all the stuff that's been going on with them this year, I think that they were already a great team, but that's took them a few notches up. I think they're going to win a close one. Now, my heart, who do I want to win? I think I'd probably pull for Washington. I love seeing somebody new up there. And I think that Penix seems to be a great guy. Every time he speaks on there, it's just something that you can't turn the TV off. You want to listen to him. And he's super fun to watch. Great coach. Great fan base, it seems like. I think it would be cool to see them win one, especially the last year they're in the Pac-12. I mean, the last year the Pac-12's even a thing. To see them go out like that would be pretty neat. But, as far as what I think is going to happen with my head, I think that Michigan will win this one. And I think we're going to go on to debate all offseason whether or not it's legitimate or not. I think it is, but that will be a topic all offseason that people talk about. Thomas, who do you have winning it all?
Yeah, I guess I'll just keep it boring and agree with you again. Just say it's going to be Michigan. But I'm kind of pulling for Michigan at the same time. I like sticking it to the NCAA,
Yeah.
I know that they don't want Michigan to win. which I could actually see playing a part in it. Like, I'm not saying the refs are going to blatantly cheat, but if there's a close call, a questionable call, I could see the NCAA kind of telling them to call in the other direction. But that's a bigger topic, I guess, bigger issue. But all in all, I'm taking Michigan. I think they're the best team. Have been all year.
Jamar, who do you have winning?
If you're a conspiracy theorist guy, you know that's why Alabama's in there, is so they can Michigan will have somebody that might beat them in the first round, because Florida State wasn't going to beat them. So the NCAA wanted somebody to go in there and take them out, not give them a chance to get to the final. But that's just if you're a conspiracy theory guy, which I'm not, obviously. So, but
Well,
I
the only
think
one
Michigan
isn't on here tonight.
Yeah,
So.
I think Michigan over Washington. I've agreed with you before. I think we talked about them earlier in the year. I think I had Georgia and Michigan playing. I'm pretty sure it's who I picked in the national championship, and I think I took Georgia to go. I think my reasoning was, until somebody beats them, I'm not going to pick against them. And I think if Bowers had been 100% and they hadn't been a little banged up, they'd have beat Alabama, and we wouldn't be having any of this discussion anyway. But so picked them early in the year to be there, and since they're not playing Georgia or anybody that has that can match up with them physically, I think Washington is really, really good. I just don't think physically they may match up with them well enough to beat them. So I'm gonna go Michigan.
Rusty, you had Bama beating Michigan, and you have Texas on the other side. So Bama Texas rematch. Who do you have going away with it for the national championship?
I think Bama's going to win it all. I mean, the story repeats itself. Saban gets him another one. I think they get the revenge on Texas this year. So,
well, I was starting to think. I think some people were starting to think maybe Saban's time was done, and it was time for Kirby. But I think he had something to say about it.
It's unfortunate. We
Well,
should move on.
Yeah.
But
It's all right, Rusty.
Before we leave college football, I would like to.
Yeah.
I have to diss on Rusty a little bit in Logan's honor, and say that I really don't think. A lot of people have talked about Georgia being in that top 4. I don't really see them like that. I don't think they really played the competition that Washington and Michigan and everybody did. And when they did, they lost to Alabama, and then they've got injuries. I don't really see them having an argument. I can't imagine them putting in a non-conference champion either.
Yeah.
But,
I had them behind Ohio State in my final.
yeah, I mean, if you look at Ohio State,
because of the schedule.
Yeah, they lost to the number 1, and Georgia lost to the number 4. So,
yeah, and the wins that Ohio State had with Penn State and Notre Dame, I think were impressive.
I tend to agree with that to a point. I mean, yeah, their schedule as far as it goes. But like, I guess my only thing was why they should be there is because the committee had them there all year. In that sense, if you're going, you know what I mean, if you're going by what the committee has been doing, then that's why they should have had an argument. But yeah, I don't know as far as lining up against. I mean, I have a hard time not saying they're still one of the better teams, even though their schedule wasn't what some of these others were. They don't have the higher wins, but some of those wins for these other teams early in the year with these higher ranked teams, those teams turned out not to be as quality as a win. But I understand the argument. That's why I said 5 through 8 could make a legit gripe. So I agree with that to what y'all are saying to an extent. But the fact that the committee, kind of like how I was talking about earlier with the rankings, that they had them ranked there, then that's why they should have had an argument. And like Florida State should have been if they were ranked there, they should have stayed. So
yeah, inconsistent in both ways.
Well, come on, bounce over to you, Rusty, since we're talking about them. on that same point, do you think they should have been there? And also, do you think that they did have some wins against Missouri, Ole Miss? I think there was maybe one more there I'm not thinking about. They had some ranked wins. I think the Tennessee is ranked, but I don't think the Tennessee is a top 25 team. But I think kind of what hurt y'all a little bit is the games, the non-big games, the other games this year being close. Do you think if maybe you all would have rolled out and say killed Georgia Tech, killed some of these other teams like Auburn, the teams that y'all shouldn't have been close with at all, do you think maybe if y'all would have done your job there, well, you won, but made it more of a beatdown, I guess, the eye test. Do you think that maybe would have helped y'all to sneak in at 4?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna take it back to last year. We were down to Missouri all the way up until about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and Missouri should have beat us. Missouri should have not even been that ball game. And then we still went on, still won the SEC championship, still won the national championship. So I could look at all these games that we should have won by 20 or more points, and we didn't. And then I could look at those games and blame those games. A lot of injuries this year. I think if Ladd McConkey would have been fully healthy, and I think if Brock would have been fully healthy, I think they would have been more in the game for us against Alabama. I mean, we lost by 3 points. I mean, it was close, and we made mistakes. I do think that I think healthy, I think we're definitely a top 4 team. We showed perseverance all year. We were down in a lot of games. We came back and we won them. To say that Bama is better than us, it's hard for me to say that, even though they beat us they beat us, but by 3 points, it's hard for me to say that they're better. I think that we match up a lot closer than a lot of people were trying to say, but I think that we're one of the best teams.
We're not trying to add salt in the wound or anything.
I know we want to try to move on from it. I think it just puts a magnifying glass on how broke the system was that they had to begin with. And like you talked about it in that group, Michael H. summed it up perfectly. You're letting humans decide stuff that shouldn't be decided by however you word it. It should be decided on the field. That's the main thing about sports, is everything should be decided on the field. That's the problem. It ain't so much that, anybody's going to have Florida State has a reason to be mad. Georgia fans have a reason to sit here and point and be like, why aren't we in? Ohio State fans, even though they didn't make it to a conference championship, it might be their only reason. They can't say a lot, but if they're trying to get the best team, they have a reason to point and say, hey, what about us? But the thing is, the system is not good and it's broke. And you're going to have a team next year, that 13th team is going to be mad they didn't get in. Like, it's not going to be – it's still be somebody mad. It's just not going to be somebody with probably as good a chance to win it. Yeah. So nobody's going to care as much about it. But it's just like the NCAA tournament. Somebody's going to be mad and have a gripe that they didn't get in. And it's always going to be that way. But it's just terrible how that it comes down to that.
Imagine if this was the BCS era and it was just 2 teams. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we could be in that mess still.
At least you had 4 teams. You had 4 teams instead of just picking 2.
But this year might have been the best year to have the BCS. You'd had Michigan and Washington and be done, no questions asked.
Nah, I don't. Maybe I know that JJ Watt had.
Yeah. I mean, they'd be mad, but
yeah.
Then the whole Florida State thing wouldn't matter because Washington's. I mean, you'd be wrecked ahead of them. Michigan's undefeated, so you got 2 undefeateds playing each other. It wouldn't have been an issue this year, I don't think.
JJ Watt had threw out there that they should have just done a I think it was like an 8 or maybe it was 6. I can't remember.
Bracket emergency 16.
Yeah, and just have the top 2 have a bye and then roll it out. But I mean, they weren't going to do that. They don't. It's been a slow process. It should have been. This is a long time coming. It should have been 12 a long time ago, I think. And you will have somebody that gets mad that they wasn't the 12th team. But like you say, it's not going to be somebody that, in my opinion, that has a legitimate like a championship talent. Like right now, you're having somebody out of the four that has a legitimate championship talent, whether it be Florida State, Ohio State, or Georgia. So I think that 12 would be great. I think 12 is going to be great for the sport. I think it makes the regular season more important because now you have teams that can sneak into that 12 where they couldn't really sneak into the 4. I think you add, you might have like an ACC championship game or something that might be a 14th versus 15th ranked teams going against each other. And all of a sudden, that's a very important game. That could get you into the playoffs depending on how everything else is. So I'm just all about college football growing, and I think that's definitely going to be a big part of it.
I think it's crazy that the original idea of 4, how can you think it can be a good idea to have 4 when you have 5 Power 5 conferences? What if everybody goes undefeated in the conference championship? Like, that's just, you're starting out with a terrible setup to begin with. And so I don't know why that was ever even a thought that would be the right idea, but yeah.
I'm just mad Liberty didn't make it.
They made a New Year's Six bowl.
Well, they shouldn't have made a New Year's Six bowl, but
they shouldn't have. But they should have. I mean,
speaking of teams who are mad, if I'm asking you right now, because that's the money that they're missing. They should probably be more mad than some people because the money they're missing out on for that program, just playing in that big a bowl, is a big deal.
Yeah, and there's so many these bowl games. I think when I first started watching football and learning about the bowl games and stuff, I just assumed that your top bowls that would just go down the line like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But it doesn't. That's not how it goes. There's certain agreements that the bowls have with certain conferences that no matter what, like if that conference wins, they go. But then you have some at-large bids as well. So there's a lot into that. So yeah, Liberty maybe shouldn't be there in New Year's Six bowl, but I think it is kind of cool to see somebody like that up there. Now, are they going to win? I don't think so. But
who are they playing?
I'll root for them. Play Oregon, I believe.
No.
Yeah.
No, Oregon's one game away from making a legit argument whether they should be in or not. So 3 points away and an overtime game away maybe. So did they go into overtime the first game or did Washington beat them the first?
No, it was a game-winning field goal.
Okay, but it was
a missed field goal or something like that. I can't remember.
How many did they beat them by the second time?
It wasn't by much.
3 again, maybe, or was it?
It was close. I'm not.
They're definitely less than 10 points. Away, basically 10 points away from saying they'd be undefeated in the number 2 spot right now. So they're not. Liberty probably have a long day unless Oregon just kind of phones it in, and maybe they don't play either. But
it was 3 points, 34-31.
What's important, guys?
How would y'all rank that?
Is Tech made a bowl game? I just want to throw that out there. That's what we're not talking about that we should be talking about.
So I guess this is it for the college football segment since we're getting on
it. How would y'all rank that though? If Washington would have lost to Oregon in the championship, but would have beat them earlier in the season, would you have replaced Washington with Oregon?
Yeah.
I probably would have moved. I don't know if I'd have had them at 2 or not, but since they wasn't undefeated, but it would have been a toss-up between 2 or 3 for me.
Yeah, because they were shown at that point to be one of the hottest teams in college football. I think we talked about it right beforehand. I think all of us had them in with them winning. So, yeah, I would have had them in. I think going into next year, they're going to be good again. But, conference realignment, me and Jamar talked about it on one of the episodes. And I'm not sure how they're going to do it yet. It had been mentioned that you're going to have so many conference champions and so many at large. I just don't know how that's going to work when you have bigger conferences now. And you might have 4 teams in the Big Ten or 4 teams in the SEC that realistically could make it now that those conferences are growing. And I don't know how you can guarantee a spot to, maybe I guess the ACC I don't know if the Big 12 is even going to have much of anything now. So the ACC might be that other spot as far as a conference champion, but even then, there's a chance that you might not have a team out of the ACC that goes undefeated again. You might have Florida State go, have 3 losses, or Clemson have 3 losses, and here you are. They get in because they have an automatic bid, but are they really part of the 12? Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if there's certain rules like that. I hope they just take the 12 best, and you can factor in conference championships and stuff just like they do now. But I don't think it should be a rule that if you get it, you're in automatically.
I didn't either until this last week, and now I kind of am leaning more towards if you figure out a way to win your conference, no matter what is going on your team at the moment, you deserve to be in a playoff. But I can see the argument against it also, but there's got to be something. Winning your conference has to, count for something other than just to get a trophy. I would think, but
Yeah, I wonder if the conference championships are going to become like the college football playoff with these all these teams moving conferences. You're going to have some conferences with like 4 or 5 teams that have 1 loss and great strength of schedule playing that conference, and choosing the 2 best from every conference is going to be a debate.
Yeah, you might get rid of them altogether, the conference championships, because if you have 4 good SEC teams and that okay, they're going to make it, why have a game that you knock one of them out?
Right.
If it comes down, I don't know. There's a lot of questions
with it. But at that point, they'll make it somewhere anyway, probably, since there's 12 teams. But
yeah,
and they just do what we talked about and have however many teams it works out. The starting season, round 1 is week 1, and go from there.
Yeah.
Let this so-called committee rank them, and then seed them 1 through 8 or whatever they have to do, and have 4 brackets and go for it.
What they really need to do, and what they should have done this past week, and what our government probably needs to do, is have it all public. All the discussions be public. Like, stuff like that doesn't need to be hidden. Just have it all public, so that way we know who decided what and what conversations had been had. I mean, who knows? They could have all just went up there to some, Michael Leach talked on that about going to some resort or something, have a few drinks, eat some good food, and be like, hey, we're supposed to be up here for a few hours, but this is what we're going to do. Let's just hang out. We don't know. We don't know what they did.
Yeah.
All we know is the result. But I do want to mention this before we get off college football. Transfer portal is going insane right now. Some top quarterbacks that are on there. And quarterbacks I didn't think would be on there, but we had Riley Leonard, quarterback from Duke, Dylan Gabriel, quarterback from Oklahoma, Will Howard, Kansas State, Cam Ward, Washington State, DJ Ugalele, I can't even say it. If one of y'all can say it, then you can pitch in. Quarterback from Oregon State, also former quarterback of Clemson. Kyle McCord, Ohio State, Will Rogers, Mississippi State, Tyler Van Dyke, Miami, Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina. So some top quarterbacks going to be in different places next year. And some of those names right there, they're already being targeted by teams like Notre Dame, Oregon, USC, Ohio State, Florida State, Miami, Washington. Some top programs are going after these guys. It's almost like free agency. So everything's changed when it comes to that, because every year now you're going to have a pool of players that you can pick from if you can afford them. Coach Rule said from Nebraska, I think some of those top quarterbacks, he said he thinks some of those top quarterbacks are going to be $1 to $2 million just to obtain one of them. So in that aspect, I kind of don't like the money being involved, but I do think that players should be compensated.
It's a good thing certain somebody's not on this podcast right now. He'd have got off here.
Yeah, when I said Coach Rule.
You said the wrong name. He would have jumped off and went in a hurry.
Yeah, my bad. Well, we'll hop off of college football. We'll talk a little bit about the NFL. Let's just hop into some stuff I've seen online. a hot topic right now is MVP. I think I put on our group chat a few times just because I'm happy about it. But Brock Purdy right now is the betting favorite to win the MVP. You got Dak Prescott up there as well, and trying to think who the other quarterback was. Jalen Hurts. But not too far behind, you have Tyreek Hill. So, Rusty, what do you think about Tyreek Hill, his chances of winning the MVP, and just his season in general? Being a fan,
What he's doing special. I mean, you don't see. I mean, you see a lot of great receivers, but what he's doing is it's fascinating. And he's not going to be in the league very much longer. He's been said. But if he somehow manages to get 2,000 yards receiving this year, then I don't see him winning the MVP. Usually that goes to a quarterback. I don't know. Has a receiver ever won the MVP? Does anybody know
I'd say
that?
there has been some, but
I don't think
it's
so.
been a minute.
Had it?
I mean, I don't see him
Let's
winning
see.
MVP, but if he gets 2,000 yards, I don't see. I think he's got a really good. I think he should be one of the top two people to be, in for it. But there's some. I mean, C.J. Stroud's playing so good. Purdy's playing really good. Dak is playing really good. Like there's a couple of guys out there that are really playing good. So it's kind of hard to, you know, you know, pick one.
The argument a lot of people make, and but not necessarily me, because I think a lot of times the receiver makes the difference more so. But I guess when you have a receiver having that many yards, most time the quarterback throwing to him, people say, "Well, why ain't he up for the MVP?" But I think in this case, it's one of the better cases you can make for the receiver making the quarterback better. So I think if a receiver was ever going to win one, if they haven't already, this would be the year for it. Because if you put him on a team with Mahomes, like in the past, Mahomes is the one getting MVP. Or if he was playing for anybody, some other big name quarterback, the quarterback's getting the recognition. But because it's Tua and is not as high profile as some of these other quarterbacks, and plus it's the way he's always open. That's the thing too. It's not like he's throwing him open. Like he was just open because nobody can guard him. So that's another good thing he's got going for him. So if a receiver was going to win one, this would be the best chance.
And if it wasn't for Tyreek Hill, our offense would not be where it's at. I mean, it just wouldn't. He legit opens defenses up. So that for the success Tua has throwing to Waddle or Berrios is because everyone's afraid that Tyreek Hill's getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked it up. No receivers, like there's not been a receiver to win the NFL MVP ever.
I didn't think so.
But what's even more fascinating than that is I stumbled upon this in 1982. Mark Mosley, kicker from the Washington Redskins, or then Washington Redskins, won the NFL MVP
Don't
award
say
that
it,
year.
You're going to make Thomas leave his group right now.
I did. Yeah. I imagine if you was around in 1982, Thomas, you'd be burning something down.
How good
Because
that's wild.
What did he score?
Setting cars on fire.
Is it just the defense and him scoring points? Is that all it was? And him, what was the deal
I don't
there?
know. They won the Super Bowl that year, and I had double checked because I thought, okay, well, it's just the MVP of the Super Bowl, which I think that would have been crazy. No, it was the actual MVP of the year. So that's wild.
I would say the
I've
mob
never
was
heard that.
involved.
That's crazy.
The mob must have been involved.
Yeah.
Something. Richard Nixon, I don't know.
There had to be something going on.
Yeah.
Who did he play for?
Washington Redskins. Well, then was Washington Redskins, Commanders now. He had a NFL record of 23 field goals converted in a row. So that's one thing. He
okay,
had
that's not
some-
MVP worthy.
no. I'm not arguing for him. I'm just telling you.
I'm
some of
just
the
trying to
stuff.
figure out why
Yeah.
what set him apart from like made him special that they said, hey, let's put a kicker as MVP.
Yeah, he went.
Unless the offense in the NFL that year was just the worst ever.
They just
Or
couldn't
something.
score.
It had to be
No
terrible.
offense could score.
Maybe
Yeah, like,
I know that. Well, I mean, yeah, their offense may not have been able to score.
I mean,
which I think that's probably during the Joe Gibbs.
any offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
There couldn't be anybody any good that year for a kicker to win MVP.
Well, he had went, I guess, at 25 straight field goals converted, play extra points, but he went 20 of 21 on field goals for the year and had a then record of 95.2% completion on hitting them. And I guess he'd hit a number of game winning ones.
I feel like Justin Tucker has done better.
Oh, Justin Tucker doesn't have an MVP next to his
that's
name.
true.
Vinatieri is the GOAT, so.
But is he now?
Yeah, he is. He always been a GOAT. Yeah.
He's
It's the LeBron Jordan things. You can be in a conversation, but you can never really be the.
Well, I can tell you what, I didn't have Mark Mosley versus Vinatieri GOAT kicker topic on their list for stuff to talk about tonight. That's one of them.
Gotta plan ahead.
Yeah, man, I stumbled on that. Thomas, I hate to talk NFL with you and not bring up the Bengals, but then also I feel like it's almost like a bittersweet thing at the moment. But
nah, Jake Browning's taking us to the Super Bowl. That's all there is to it.
Y'all, I mean, you're technically in the hunt. You're that extra playoff spot now. I mean, who knows?
Me and Jamar have a big playoff.
He got a long day ahead of him.
Battle.
Big Grove's coming back. He's gonna be now if they can give him enough time to throw it, he'll pick that secondary apart. But I'm hoping we don't give him enough time to find him.
Something I wanted to mention, and I kind of wish we had everybody on here for this. But our fantasy football right now is going into a huge week. Well, for all teams but Thomas's. Everybody else is going into a huge week.
I'll take a break. Go eat some dinner while you guys talk about fantasy football.
Sorry. This week, I mean, that like right now, we have Ryan. He's clinched a spot. He's 9-4. Logan has clinched a spot. He's 8-5. You will have a division winner in our division with Rusty, John, Jamar, and Thomas, which I said unfortunately Thomas is eliminated. So it'll be up to Jamar, John, and Rusty. So some big matchups this week because you have my team's still there fighting for a spot along with former champ or current champ, I guess, until he gets dethroned, Tyler. We're both 6-7, so we're at play to kind of squeak in and get that fourth, I guess, at large bid, but this week, I played John, so that's obviously a big game because he can win that and maybe potentially win that division. And with me winning, I could end up sneaking in. But then you also have Jamar going against Tyler, which, as I just stated, Tyler could end up squeaking in as an at-large at 4, or Jamar could win and possibly win that division and clinch a spot, which I think you would possibly then have to have maybe Rusty lose. Not sure, but then you have Rusty going against the top team right now in our league, which is Ryan's team, but right now projected points only has y'all as a 1 point difference. So that belt, I mean, who knows who it could go to, but this last week is huge. And I know many of our listeners may not care about that, but I think it's kind of cool to talk about amongst us. Rusty, do you think you're going to end up clinching that spot this week?
I'm just happy that I made it past week 5 without quitting.
Well,
so it feels good to be where I'm at.
I think it deserves a clap. Definitely. Jamar, you have a big one this week going against the current champ, Tyler. So what do you think about this week?
My injury-ridden team is going to be healthy, but the bad part is Connor's got on a bye, so I don't get my full everybody there. But Jefferson should be back this week. So finally, after that's really what's cost me this year has been injuries, and I'm not saying I would have been like ahead of Ryan, but I would have been at least 2 or 3 games better than I am now. At least 2 games for sure. So, but hopefully get one in here. I don't know how's it work on the tiebreaker. It's just how's that work? Because me and Rusty will be tied.
Yeah, I
both,
mean,
if he loses, no win.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I guess it depends on head to head and maybe some points. I'm not sure because I thought about looking up all that today. I was like, man, there's so many different scenarios. I couldn't remember all that. Now, if I probably assigned John to doing it, he would definitely probably figured it out.
Yeah,
and be able to tell us. But
I feel
there's
like
so many different things.
I feel like if I had a chance at all, I'd be more really wanting to get in the playoffs. But the way my team went this year, I don't think I really have a chance of winning anyway. So as long as I don't finish last, I think I'll be fine with this season. But
you're starting to sound like Rusty during the playoffs for the Dolphins last year.
Well, I mean, I'd like to get them in, but it's honestly it'd be just one less thing to stress about. Yeah. I'm in contention in another one, so I can focus all my energy on coaching that team instead of this team. So I gotta go. I want that belt. Gotta try to win the one. I want to win the one.
Yeah.
The other one you're in. That Melissa's in, just because I want to have bragging rights over her because she's obsessed with it, and I want to beat her. But I think she's in favor right now. But
she is.
You're kind of her kryptonite. You can be terrible, but then your players play good when you play her. And then I think another week, one of her losses was because somebody that she was playing hadn't touched their lineup until I asked for a trade. And they're like, oh, I need to change these people. And I think that's why she ended up losing that week. So I cost her one there. But
that was a fun week at the house.
Having her do the fantasy has made it. It makes things fun here at the house. So, Sunday mornings, trying to scramble to get lineups, for sure. And so I'm glad she's into it. But I swear, sometimes I think she's a little more serious about it than I am.
That's cool, though.
But sometimes I really just want to make her cry and beat her.
Oh yeah, she.
That was what started this.
Yeah, she kind of knew the like one of the first things I think she realized when we got together was I come from a very competitive family, and so I'll never not try to win things. So she's well aware of how serious it is. She's the same way. She hates losing too. So, but yeah, gotta have bragging rights here at the house because my football season ain't got nothing else to brag about. So we got to do the fantasy over the wife. Hopefully,
we kind of have that here at the house. I mean, Chelsea's in a bunch of leagues with me, but she ain't near as competitive. Now, if she finds out she does beat me, which she did in another league, and she hadn't set her lineup in like 6 weeks.
I was gonna say she might be in the league, pretty happy about that. She don't do anything. Yeah. She has been in several games. I think Mariah's been the same way.
Yeah.
They don't touch them, but they almost win some of these just because how good their teams are. It almost makes me mad about some of them players that they got on their team that they're just getting wasted. Like I hate it. You'll have 2 of them go off for 30 or 40 points, and they'll almost win, but they'll be the only ones in the game.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, me and John right now, we're projected to have a very high scoring game. He's projected 141 points. I'm projected 133.
I need you to beat him, by the way.
I know that kind of falls into it as well. I mean, depending on how these games go out.
Thomas is on here. I'll go ahead and tell him how mad I was about Chase having a good game because he cost me in 2 fantasy leagues this week. I was ahead going in when I went to sleep. When I woke up, I lost both of them because of him. Yeah. So
just that's Logan.
Yeah.
Logan
was the benefactor this time. Yeah. Logan's the one that benefited from it. So don't let him say Chase. He can't use it anymore because Chase helped him this time.
The last time it cost him the belt.
Oh well, that's different. Yeah, that's a little bit bigger. Yeah.
Anyway, just to hit on a little bit more with the NFL, then we'll get on some college basketball. Right now, Jamar, who do you think is the favorite? Now you can do overall, or if you want to do AFC, NFC, separate. It's up to you.
I mean, as bad as I hate to say it, I think the NFC right now is not that I hate to say it, but the Cowboys not what you're thinking. The Cowboys are in the conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think they're the best team. If I had to pick, I'd say it's you all are the best team, probably, and then the Eagles. And then I guess I'd have to put the Cowboys at 3. I mean, the way, especially right now, the way they're playing, and so that'll be my top 3 in that one. AFC's wide open. It's crazy. But you can go 1 week. You can, and then you can't. The Dolphins are up there. I feel like you have the Ravens are up there. Other than that, it's kind of that third place team is kind of just who decides they want to play that week. I would lean more towards probably the Chiefs just because they're still the Chiefs. If I don't know, the Bills, they're probably the most inconsistent team in the NFL right now. But you can't count them out. As much as
if they make
as much as I don't. I mean, if I don't know what his name is, but if Thomas's quarterback can figure it out, they're still going to be dangerous. I mean, I don't know. It's wide open. If I think you have, and this is no order. I ain't going to rank this one, but I'll give you 3 that I say Miami, Baltimore, and I'll go with the Chiefs still, I guess, as a top 3 this week, but I'll probably change my mind next week.
Yeah. You mentioned about us being on the NFC side. I might be crazy for saying this, but I worry more when we get in the playoffs about getting matched with Detroit than I do Dallas or Philly.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I think they match up well. Well, honestly, I just think that I guess I know that we've already beat Dallas, we've already beat Philly, and I know when we play at our best, we can beat those 2 teams. And I think if we play our best and we're healthy, I think we can beat anybody in the league. But Detroit right now, that's just a team that they get in the playoffs, they're going to be pumped like that. Motivation and momentum is going to be kind of in their favor. And their offense is sneaky good. Like, I think an offense like that kind of reminds me a little bit like how Minnesota's offense is. They pass a lot, but they don't pass. Like they feed off the run game more than Minnesota does, but they feed off that run game and they pass a good bit to where they can play in an offense that keeps us on our toes and it's not so predictable. I think the Dallas and the Philly games we've had with them this year, I think their offenses were a little bit predictable to our defense. I think that's why the scores are so lopsided. But I think Detroit is the one I'm kind of worried about if we do get matched up with them. Thomas, Baltimore, and maybe I'm just living under a rock, but I know they're one of the top teams, but I feel like people haven't really talked a whole lot about them, or I just don't think they're as flashy or whatever, got that flair around them. But that's, a division opponent for you. Do you think they stand a shot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're probably they've probably proven to be the most complete team in the AFC so far. If they could keep their turnovers under control, everybody steps up, plays their potential. It hurts them losing Andrews, but I think they dominate the line of scrimmage. They have a superstar in Lamar Jackson. I think it's understandable to say they're the favorites in the AFC right now. So yeah, I'm not sure why they're not getting, I guess, the Mahomes factor. They're mostly just talking about Mahomes, but I think they probably deserve more love.
Can we all agree? Go ahead. Go ahead and say what you need to say.
I was gonna say there's definitely a case for my Bengals out there still. We control our own fate, our own destiny. We play like 3 of the teams ahead of us in the coming weeks: the Colts, the Browns, the Steelers. Or do we? No, I guess we don't play the Steelers again. But Yeah, I think we got a case. I think as long as Browning isn't bad, the skill players will carry us to the promised land. They'll count us
Maybe we're
out.
in. Maybe.
I have a really quick question that y'all probably know the answer to. Why are we ahead of the Browns right now in the standings? They beat us head to head.
Is it division?
No,
Are y'all the top team in your division?
no, it's a wild card spot.
No, because Jaguars.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Is it? But maybe
Unless they're
our division record is better than their division record.
Oh,
Maybe
I bet that's it.
Could
Yeah,
that be what it is?
I think that's how it works.
Okay, because
I
they
think
beat
it's
us.
the committee's just leaving
then-
the Browns out because their quarterback ain't playing.
Ours ain't either.
Yeah, but your backup's better than Joe Flacco.
Is that? Oh yeah, they're on
Yeah.
their third string guy technically, ain't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. You're right. I forgot.
Committee
Yeah, I
don't
think-
like that.
But I do think our 49ers are definitely the best team in the league right now, and I don't think it's close.
I'm just hoping that don't, something major don't happen. But I think I feel like we're all in agreement on this. I hope. Well, maybe all of us. Are we ready to get past the Taylor Swift Kansas City stuff?
Yes.
I mean, she just won Time Person of the Year, so I feel like we're probably going to hear that 100 times during the next Kansas City game.
What do you mean? Are we ready to get past it?
I'm ready to just quit hearing about it. So
I've not heard about it. I don't pay attention to it. You just got. You live in a
Oh my
house with a
gosh, how
Swiftie,
you-
so that's your problem.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you turn a Kansas City game, you're going to be hearing about it.
That's why you mute it.
I
You
don't like
even-
turning on
you-
those games
you-
either.
You just
I don't
mute
watch
it.
those games.
You watch them, you mute
Yeah.
it. You just mute the television.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've been trying my best. I've been trying my best not to be mad about it because I
Yeah.
don't want to even acknowledge it, because it's just like feeding into it. Like me acknowledging how much they're talking about it, it's just growing the fire, So I'm not being mad about it, not being
Just giving
happy
them more
about
to
it,
talk about. Honestly,
just pretending it's not existing.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I still hope that, maybe something happens. Nothing bad or harmful to each one of them, but just that, they split up. She drops like a big hit song about the breakup, and who knows, it might just destroy the team from within. I don't know.
Ether.
But
If Patrick Mahomes' wife doesn't destroy it, team from within already, and his brother, so
yeah. So one thing that we haven't talked about on this pod yet, maybe very briefly, but college basketballs, we're started. We already got. I'm trying to think. I heard this morning. I was listening to a podcast, and I want to say like upwards of maybe 15 to 20, maybe more than that, ranked upsets already in the season, which is wild. Which I think a lot of this is a filling out process of finding out who's as good as what they thought they would be and who's not. You already look at Michigan State. They were, to a lot of people, maybe a top 10 team. They had a lot coming back, and now 4-4. And I don't know if they played tonight or not, but they're in a dangerous spot maybe this year of not making the tournament. And Tom Izzo's squad has made it for, I think, 24, 25 straight years. So we'll see if he turns it around. But you also have teams like Duke that has this loss, I think, back-to-back games, and some other ranked teams as well, which have had a lot of top-ranked matchups too. So some of these losses, maybe through a different perspective that, if you're putting, say, UConn and Kansas against each other, that's probably not going to drop either one of them that far. But with that being said, I kind of want to balance this off a few of you all, some top teams that you all think's in the league right now. Thomas, who do you think right now are some teams to watch? We'll, I guess, lead into after this, maybe giving a prediction of a Final Four, but just some teams to watch off the top of your head.
Well, I think your obvious ones are Arizona, UConn, Kansas, Purdue. I think teams to watch, I guess they're not necessarily being counted out, but are going to have a big impact coming up are teams like Baylor, Houston, that haven't really played anybody, but are ranked really high. They're undefeated and supposed to be really good coming into the season. you got teams like you have talented teams like Michigan State, Duke, Kentucky that at any point they can win several in a row, and they just aren't right now. So I think there are a lot of teams to watch, but I think there are a few that are standing like head and shoulders above everybody else right now.
Rusty, I guess let's just go. We'll go ahead and if you want to, and I'll circle back around to you, Thomas. Or if you want to go ahead and kind of just bring up a few teams, but also let's go ahead and just make our prediction for Final Four because we can just kind of wrap that all together. Who do you think right now, at this point in the season, you think is going to be in the Final Four?
Few teams, Thomas hit a bunch of teams, right on the head. Purdue, Arizona. I think Arkansas's not a bad team. They beat us, and they're doing all right. Creighton is another team. I think, I think it could be talked about. As far as the Final Four prediction, I think Purdue's going to be in it. I can see Kansas. Purdue's another team that could be right in there. And then I like, maybe throw in a team that nobody, a smaller team. I'm just going to throw one out. JMU.
Wow, that would be a good one.
It
Yeah.
would.
Um,
But I think they're definitely going to win their conference there. Not a bad team.
yeah, and I already had a.
They're ranked,
Well,
right?
I mean, I guess it depends. I think so.
They're
They're
already
11-1,
ranked.
I believe.
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean,
All right.
yeah, that'd be the good thing about basketball is they'll get a chance to go to the things. Well, will they compete in the? Can they compete in the?
If they win.
Yeah.
Can they compete in their conference tournament?
I don't know.
I'm not
Championship?
sure how it is in college basketball.
Yeah.
I know at the level of like a UVYs for that first little bit or whatever it is, you're not allowed to play in your conference tournament.
Well, that was the case in football.
Yeah, so they might not even be eligible.
Yeah. They did get
they
in
might
for a
not.
bowl game, though. They got in for a bowl game because they didn't have enough teams to fill out the bowl schedule, like enough winning teams. That was the only stipulation that they could qualify, and that did happen. So they ended up with a bowl game. But yeah, I don't know how it is in basketball. Jay Moore, who do you have right now as your four? And I know that it's unpredictable. You can't predict it now, but just your four that you think that could make it.
I really hadn't even thought like that far, like into the. I forgot we were going to pick the actual Final Four. But if I had to pick today, I'd say I probably have Purdue up there just because the experience and the size they have. Kansas. The other two wrote down as teams that I thought were good right now that we talk about, but I can see both of them in the Final Four also just because of the way they play. They have good guard play, and I feel like that's what you need tournament time is really good guard play. But Marquette and UConn, I can see both of those making it. Both very well coached. As bad as I hate the Hurley family for UConn, but they just got the freshman back that's really good. Against he come in against Carolina the other night. He's going to make them even better. I can see them making another run, and I can see Marquette. They throttled Texas tonight at home.
Mhm.
So when they're on, they got that guard Tyler
Kolek.
Yeah, he's really good. And they're just, like I said, a well coached with Shaka Smart there. So I can see those four. Or honestly, I can see none of them making it. And the way I think it's going to be a really good year for not any outright favorites. And a lot of a bigger number that would have a legit chance. This year. I think there's a lot of talent. Good teams are spread around a lot this year for sure. So, because that's just like you didn't even Kentucky could get hot and go on a run and be very good. Duke can figure out whatever is going on there with them right now at the moment. They can figure it out very easily. Be back in the conversation. Carolina could if they're hitting shots, they're as good a team as there is in the country. So yeah, I think those four probably, if I had to pick right now, that'd just be the ones I throw out there.
Yeah, and I'm with you on Marquette. That was actually one of my top ones. Shaka Smart, believe it or not, hasn't made it past the second round in the NCAA tournament since his 2011 VCU team, to where he went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
But I'm in agreement with you. I think that is one of the best teams. I think Kolek is great. I think that team, the culture, I think is great there. They have athletic bigs. I have them as one of my spots. UConn, I have them there. They had that transfer. I think he's from Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. Or maybe that freshman. Maybe that's who it is. But anyway, he 7'2". He hasn't really got going yet. I think he had ankle issues. I think when, like you said, when he played you all the other night.
So that's the different guy I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about Donovan Klingon.
No, he played. He started.
Yeah.
The dude I'm
You were
talking
thinking
about.
of Castle.
Yeah,
You're
the
thinking
guy
of
that come
Castle,
off the
General?
bench. Yeah, he's like like projected number 8 in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, see, then, okay, Klingon then is the transfer guy. Then
He's
yeah.
7'2".
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's predicted to be a top 10 player this year in the country. And I like Coach Hurley. I think he's – go ahead.
I don't think that big guy's that good himself. I think he's big and tall and can do what he needs to do, but I don't think he's top unless you're just looking size-wise. I wouldn't put him in a top 10 player in the country. But
yeah, they said he had ankle issues right now as kind of his issue about not being on the floor as much.
Well, he played last night.
Who knows? Yeah.
He just got in foul trouble.
Well, I have them nevertheless up there. I think they're, to me, I think it's a great coach. The program right now over the last 2 seasons is 25-1. They're 7-1 with ranked wins. They have been averaging 84 points and only allowing 60 points over the last 2 seasons, and have 25 10-point plus wins. So they have been beating people, and they've been beating people by double digits quite a bit. I think it kind of speaks to that program there. And I know this is a different team than last year's championship team, but I have them in that 4. So I got Marquette, UConn, and I also have Creighton, which is one that Rusty mentioned. Kyle Bringer there, he's one of the top players in the country. I think they were pretty close on making it last year, and ended up falling short, I think, against San Diego State. So I think they could squeak in. And that 4th one, I've been kind of up in the air thinking who could be at 4. And as much as it tastes like just vinegar coming out of my mouth, I think that Duke's going to make that Final 4 spot. And I know right now they're struggling, but they got so much talent on that team. I hope they don't make it. I wouldn't care if they didn't make the tournament. But I have them in my Final 4. Thomas, who do you have? I know you had mentioned a few already, but as far as a prediction for a 4, who do you got?
Yeah, I think this, you talked about it earlier, how many ranked teams have lost. It's been a pretty awesome season as far as not knowing who's going to win night in, night out. You have teams like, took some notes here, Villanova, like they beat Carolina, and then they lost to St. Joseph's and Drexel and Penn. And you have like Kentucky that walloped Miami, who was a top 10 team, and then lost to UNC Wilmington at home at Rep Arena. And then I mean, it's just like Marquette, like you guys have them very high, and they have 2 losses to great teams. Wisconsin and Purdue are both really good. It's been really great. UT, Tennessee, somebody we're not talking about. I still think they're a good team. They've just played how many ranked teams so far this year? They really need to win against Illinois, but I think they're playing them this week someday. But yeah, for my 4, I'm surprised nobody mentioned Arizona. I think Caleb Love
almost did. Yeah,
Caleb Love has proven himself in the tournament. Very clutch player, if not the most clutch player in the country. Questionable at times, but I think he's putting together a really complete season this year. And I think it's the year of the big man. You look around, you see Kentucky's got 3 or 4 big guys. Edey, isn't he the reigning Wooden Award winner?
Yeah, Zach Edey. Yeah.
Yeah. everybody's got those. UConn's got Klingon. Everybody's got these big guys, and you look at Arizona, they got Balo, who's 7 foot tall and like 300 pounds. Is a big guy, talented, and I think they have another center that's like 7'2", Krivas. So I think they got good guard play, experience. People can hit the big shots. They have interior defense, rebounding, some bigs. They have another forward that's played really well so far. Yeah, I think Arizona's the best team. I got them in the top 4. UConn, I think they're my second best team. Their only loss was to Kansas, but they didn't have Castle, who J-Mar was talking about earlier, who's one of the best prospects in the country. So, and it was a very close game. They lost in the final second. So I think UConn's pretty complete.
According to Jay Billis, their point guard also was like barely walked with turf toe against Kansas.
Right, he got hurt in the first few minutes of the game. Yeah, that's another one. So yeah, so I think they're still better than Kansas, which I do have Kansas in third. Great coaching. It just seems, I hate it, but they're in the Final Four every year. It feels like in the championship every year. So I see them coming back, and then I'll give my Tar Heels the 4th spot. I think we're not going to finish in the top 4 teams in the regular season because we got a lot to figure out. Some young guys to develop. I think we're just now realizing that Harrison Ingram might be the best player on the team or one of the best scoring options we have. RJ Davis is really heating up right now, scored 26, 27 points in 4 or 5 straight games. So I think they've got a lot of talent, a lot of experience. Baycott, of course. So that's my Final 4.
Yeah, I had you was talking about big guys, and Baycott was another one that we'll get into talking about a few players here in a second. But Baycott, Hunter Dickerson, Edie, some of those guys you mentioned, it really is, or could be, the year of the big guy again. I think that Purdue, I didn't have them in mind, and I don't know that. I guess Rusty and J-Mar, I think, had them in there. I think that Edie is so good that they could win it all with him. But I almost think, unless they've done something recruiting wise or changed some things around, that I could see them losing a game. Because if you can shut down him, or you can make it harder on him, that whole offense is built around him. I mean, and that's what FAU did last year.
Right. I think he's definitely good, but I don't think he's the most talented. Like I don't see him going number 1 pick in the NBA draft. Like I think he's very big and dominates over a lot of college players, but I don't think he's like really skilled or talented. And they commit a lot of turnovers, I think, and the outside shooting has kind of been consistent. So I'm not huge on Purdue, but I think that's why they got bounced. They joined your Wahoos as the number 1 getting upset first rounds.
Yeah, well, one thing I can say about it,
I think anytime we can bring it up, we need to.
Yeah,
well, I will admit that UMBC wasn't even ranked the next year afterwards, but FAU is actually, they are ranked, and they still have a really good ball team. So I mean, I'll say it's a little bit different in that regard. Not to make it even worse on ourselves in the situation, but
I could be stupid bringing that up because UVA won the next year.
Yeah, so that doesn't it doesn't bother me hearing it because I know that like that same group, I like to think that it was part of the motivation that led them to the championship the next year.
I'll tell you what led to the championship.
At least it makes me feel better.
Non-walk call that ref didn't cause what led to the championship. So
yeah, but the foul before that they missed.
Oh, you missed the foul. I mean, that was walk off play. You got to call it.
There's a foul. You could call it.
It was on the same play. It was on the same play though.
Call
That's
foul
the thing.
Everybody possession. You can't call walk on it. Walk should walk. You got to
it was on the same possession that you're talking about the walk.
I don't care what possession it was.
On that same possession, it was a foul.
Fouls happen all the time, but get missed. And you can call a foul on everybody every time.
Yeah,
you call walks most of the time. Well, they don't anymore, but they did at that point.
Yeah. What I was saying is
or
that
a double dribble, whatever it was he did with a double dribble. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
When he picked it up and started dribbling again.
it was a walk at the end or something like that. But on
Cameron
that same
pretending he doesn't
possession,
know.
I really don't remember because I just tuned it out
That's
after
how
I
you
saw the
did,
video
yeah.
of the foul on that same possession happening a few seconds before that. So
foul.
either way, we won that year. I'm not, I'm not going to discredit it because if you watch the games, you can see that we were there. But just to speak on everybody's like their favorite team before we get into mentioning some of the players. Rusty, what do you think about Duke and the struggle so far? But where you think they might end up? And since we have an opportunity here to have Duke and UNC on the podcast, also including that, what do you think about the matchup between you all and the Tar Heels this year?
Well, before I get into that, I'm gonna have to get off here in just a few minutes, but I think we lost to Arkansas, and I don't think Arkansas is a bad team. We lost to Arizona, and Arizona's, of course, not a bad team. They're really good. One of the best teams. I think they're ranked number one right now. So I think the Georgia Tech loss kind of took me for a loop. I was super disappointed with that one. And then Proctor got hurt during that game, so we'll see how it goes when he comes back. Hopefully, he comes back this weekend. But I think the talent's there. I think once we kind of get it all in motion, I think we'll be fine. I don't think that we're going to make it. I don't think we're going to be at top. I don't think we're going to be in the Final Four. But I think we have the talent for it, but I don't think we're going to be there. I've seen that Shire said they were going to make some changes to the coaching as far as coaches go, and I don't really know what he means by that. But yeah, I think we'll figure it out. I think we have a good shot at winning the ACC title, but I think we have one game on UNC this year, but I don't think we'll win both of them.
Maybe he'll resign.
Maybe.
Coach Cam come
Careful.
back, so his last game won't be what it was.
Maybe.
I can see him doing that for sure. That's what kind of guy he is.
Jay Moore, I think Thomas has touched on UNC a little bit already, but what do you think about your Tar Heels?
Kind of what he said. Ingram's easily our best all-around player. Size, ball handling, scoring ability, defense, just all around. He's the best player, and I do think we should probably play. I'm not one of the people who think you should play through somebody in particular. You kind of just let it flow and move, which they don't do enough of, in my opinion. I think they're too standing around and either the guards go one-on-one or throw it in the Baycott and him force something up more than I like. I think they're at their best when they're moving the ball around, passing it, and then taking open shots. But he's very good when they got him on the block, posting people up, and he can knock it down. So that's right. And I'm not saying you shouldn't get to play through Baycott. If he has a look, you have to give him the ball. I'm not saying don't do that, but I feel like last year we almost got slowed the offense down trying to get it to him. I think as long as we can avoid that and just play through him in a system, if he gets it, he gets it, but also keep moving. And I think we're better equipped for that this year. We have a little bit better shooting and a little bit more help this year. Defensively, I think is what's going to make it up the difference for us, whether we go anywhere or not, is we can stop people enough. I feel like we're talented enough. We're going to score enough points to be in most games. It's just if we can get a stop and get a rebound, which the rebounding thing the other night against UConn killed them, and I never would have thought that would be a Carolina problem. But ever since Huberts took over, which he's not played big lineups either, but you never had to worry about that with Carolina. But now they're getting out rebounded, and it's really weird, and it's cost them some games. But defensively, they got to figure it out. I think he has his lineup. I think it's right now where it should be. I think he's finally starting the right five. Now you just got to figure out maybe the rotation behind it. Who to come in when. I'm expecting them to be up there and have a good chance. It just depends, if they're hitting that night or if they can figure out how to be better on the defensive end. They'll have a real good shot at being very competitive with anybody, but you just never know.
Yeah, I think that we're all fans of teams in the ACC. I think that you're going to have a team at the ACC, make a run, and I don't know if we can really say that Duke or even UNC would be a surprise to get up there. But I think right now all your top teams seem to be coming out of some other conferences, as far as the rankings go, anyway. But I could really see one of our teams make it. Now I think that. Just to speak on UVA a little bit, we have a lot of young guys, a lot of transfer guys.
All right,
we still have Reese Beekman. Yeah, we still have Reese Beekman there, and he's reigning Defensive Player of the Year in ACC. He's talented. I think he is one of the top 25 best players in the country. But I think that we have shown some great moments. We have beat Florida. We beat Texas A&M. We beat some pretty good teams so far. The A&M one was, I think, a huge game for us. Then we also lost a few, lost to that Wisconsin team that had another impressive win the other day. So I think that we're on the right track. I think Buchanan that we have at center, he's going to be a huge weapon for us. If he can stay out of foul trouble and he can also get on the boards a little more, that would be huge. I think the defense is a hard defense to learn, so it's hard for these guys that haven't been in the system to pick up on it. But I think they have done a great job so far. And McNeely, so far, he's like our Kyle guy. He's a knockdown shooter. So if we can stay hot from the three-point line with a few of those guys, and Beekman and Dunn, which I think Dunn will end up being a top 10, top 15 pick in the NBA next year. He's already projected to be there. If they can stay consistent on defense and lead the team, I think I could see a Sweet 16 at best for us. That's with everything going right and the matchups just kind of falling in place going in the tournament. But we'll see. I think there's a lot of promise there. It's definitely a better year than what we had last year. So before we get off here, just kind of wanted everybody to kind of highlight a few of the players to watch, the ones they're excited to see. I'll just throw mine out since we're on it. You had mentioned Edey. He's already a huge one, reigning National Player of the Year. You have Baycott that's up there, mentioned with a lot. Hunter Dickerson from Kansas. Played at Michigan and had a big impact there. Now he's with the team, with the Jayhawks, that they're going to be contending for a title. So he's going to be one of the guys that's in kind of the forefront of college basketball this year. But the player to watch for me is Tyler Kolek, that you had already mentioned, Jay Moore. I think last year, he was Big East Player of the Year last year. I think that he is just I don't know. To me, he's like Steve Nash of college basketball. I think that he needs to be a little bit more aggressive and score a little more. But as far as just running that offense, he is super important to them.
He had 16 at halftime tonight, so he must have got your vibes.
Yeah. He got it. Yeah. They won by 21 tonight, so against a pretty good Texas team. So I think that if you was to go like most valuable player, I guess Edey may be the most valuable because that's what they do. They give it to him every time. But past that, I think that Kolek would be there for me. And that's not necessarily a prediction on that award, but it's just he's probably my favorite player to watch this year. Non-who, somebody that's not part of the team that I like, but he's probably my top player to watch. And something I wanted to throw out there before I pass it on, I was looking at stats like leaders and stuff like that. Isaiah Cozart from Eastern Kentucky, this number stuck out to me. He's the leader right now in college basketball in blocks, and with 6 a game. I thought that number is pretty wild to me. The rest of them were 3 and down. So I just want to throw that out there because I just happened to see it. But Thomas, just some players to watch this year. One in particular, maybe that you got your eyes on.
Yeah, it's really early to tell. I think UConn's point guard Newton. I think he's really stepped up this year. he looked really good against us. Just fresh on my mind from watching that heartbreaker. I watched Northwestern. They had the big win over Purdue. Their guard Bowie, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He's had a really good season. He had a great
Yep.
game against Purdue. A few of those. And I mentioned, kind of touched on earlier, Harrison Ingram is kind of coming into his own at Carolina, seeing how complete of a player he is. So just kind of watch him if we can fix our season and get it on track. And I think he's only going to get better. Cadeau, for us also, this is not in that same conversation, but just a guy that I like to watch, of course. The way he makes everybody better. If you look at R.J. Davis's numbers specifically while Cadeau was on the floor compared to not, it's a pretty huge difference in field goal percentage and points per minute and things like that. But yeah,
Bowie that you mentioned, I'd heard somewhere on there today that he had 30 and maybe in 30 and 10, I think, in that game the other day, and whatever his percentage was through the roof, and it was like one of the only players in like the last 10 or so years to have that stat line. I'd have to get on the main specifics of it, but it was in that ballpark and stuff. So I mean, yeah, that's super impressive. Jamar, who do you have? Just some players to watch.
I mean, y'all kind of touched on the two I was going to say already, and we kind of went over the ones I had wrote down. But so I mean, I don't really have anything really to anybody else that we ain't named yet. So, but I really like again the guy from Marquette, the Culloch. I think he's really good. The guy from UConn, Newton, I think is what Thomas said. He's not going to like score like a whole bunch of points, but I almost feel like he's the glue to that team that makes everything go. He's really good. I'm anxious to see that freshman, and they have really high hopes for him. So as he comes along and gets more playing time, I'm interested to see what he's able to do and how good he actually is. I'm not gonna say anything good about any Duke players, so regardless how good, if they deserve it or not. But if Cadeau could shoot it outside three, he'd be on this list of best players in the country. It's the only reason he's not is because he can't shoot. Because I don't know if anybody that would be able to guard him if he could knock down an outside shot. He's that good, and I'm really excited about him. He's got a chance to go down as one of the best point guards ever at Carolina if he can somehow figure out a way to win a national championship while he's there. Maybe even if he don't, that's how good he is. Like I've not been this high on somebody from Carolina in a while, so I'm hoping he don't just really disappoint me. But he's very good passer. And like he said, he makes everybody else better. He's made RJ's life so much easier because RJ and Caleb Love both last year were better shooting when they had good shots. Like, and they were both the same type of players where they had the ball in their hands a lot. There was a lot of standing around waiting last year, and I think it killed them because they were either waiting on Baycott to get open, and then they had to go 1-on-1 too much. I think it's not really Caleb Love's fault. I blame Hubert Davis a lot for last year, not making them settle them down, making them play within the system and do things better, and not turn it over as much, and not being any kind of consequences for it. I think that's why he's doing so good at Arizona. Is he's got all these players around him. I think he's still averaging, a few turnovers a game, but and his field goal percentage ain't great, but he's not playing bad. I mean, but you have that people around him. He don't have to be that guy, and he knows if he does turn it over or not play good, he's probably going to come out. Which again I blame with the coaching last year on all his problems. But Cadeau steps in nice and takes a lot of pressure off of RJ, so he can be a scorer, because that's what RJ really is a scorer. But as far as players to watch, I would put Cadeau out there for anybody that just curious to want to watch a really good point guard play, whether he's at that upper level of like really good players. I wouldn't put him up there yet, but he's a really good point guard.
Do you think that Cadeau, like by the end of his career, or surpass Caleb Love in at least UNC history.
I mean, probably not in big moments because, I mean, you destroy your arch rival's livelihood. Like, I don't care what you've done your other years there. You kind of
when you retire.
retire. Yeah, I mean,
you retire Coach K.
Right. I mean, you can't really even as much as he made me want to throw things. The man does something like that for you, you're kind of like, all right, that's I just think the only thing I had, like I said again with him, was just what I wish he would have known to stop doing some of that they did. But again, I blame a lot of that on Hubert Davis for just letting it go too long, and letting them play. They just didn't play any kind of real. I mean, it's just too much. Like I said, too much one-on-one, too much turnovers, some bad shots, which he made some of those. Luckily, a lot of those bad shots he made against Duke. If Carolina could play Duke every other game, they'd have won a lot of games if Caleb Love playing. But yeah, as far as you talking about, I mean, well, he's not going to. He's by far not anywhere near one of the best players to ever play at Carolina, but he'll be one of the most remembered players to ever play at Carolina because of what he done. So
yeah, man. I'm an outsider as far as Tar Heel history, but I think that sounds pretty spot on.
He's not one of the, but he's also not going to be the biggest disappointment ever. I got that reserved for one person, and it never changed because of what I thought they were going to be, and they end up not being that. So, I'm not even going to say his name on here.
Well, I kind of think who it could be. Y'all had a pretty good big guy. Was it McAdoo or whatever?
I mean, he should have been. Yeah, he's probably up there too.
McAdoo's probably my number one. And then you got.
I forgot about. Yeah. I actually forgot about. He really should have been a lot better too, because this other guy was actually really good. It wasn't. He was bad. Like that's the bad thing about it is he didn't finish. Like he was still pretty good. A really good player, and probably even go down as like one of the one to remember for Carolina. Just from the freshman year that he delivered, and then he just went. It never got like I had such high. I thought he was going to be like National Player of the Year every year he's there, and it just never kind of got back to that. But yeah, McAdoo, I forgot about him. He's probably the most disappointing thing ever come through Carolina. That was awful. I still don't understand that. It don't make any sense why he was so bad.
He had a huge freshman year. Yeah.
And then you got freshman year. And then you got Seventh Woods, who was the greatest high school player of all time.
Yeah, I never see that one. I never got to see him being any good, so I never had the expectations there. Yeah. But yeah, there's been a few. I forgot about McAdoo.
Best highlight reel.
Some reason I forgot about him. That makes it's starting to get my blood going down just thinking about him. That was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, right up there with maybe JP Tokido. He was pretty good.
He wasn't a disappointment. He was. I mean, he was pretty.
Nah,
yeah,
I just want to throw his name out because we talked about.
He's the man.
Yeah, he's. There's a really good genes in that family apparently because Trimble about jumped over a dude there, that big guy. He almost cleared him. It was. He gets up there. Like it's dangerous when he gets up. He's up there a long time. Be as small as he is.
Well, I think we've kind of touched a little bit on everything that we had planned on touching on. Thank you again for Rusty for coming on, for Thomas, and well, I gotta say thank you to you, J Marks. It's their podcast. So
I was gonna say I kind of. I'm getting that impression here lately that it is kind of like that. Like I'm more of a but I'm fine with that. Like I said, I think y'all are better when I'm not on here.
We're not. No. We haven't had you for a few of the boys join the porch, but I understand why. It's hard to get up like that.
Like I said, I'll come on to be your high school sports correspondent. I'm fine with that.
Nope, that's not gonna happen. This is gonna be it's a mine and your thing.
You gotta do what people want.
With that,
you gotta listen to the followers.
That's what people want. They want you.
No,
not the Thomas.
Yep.
I think we do need to try to get Logan Thomas on at the same time, and Rusty obviously come on too, but he didn't play basketballs. But I was gonna get, since high school was coming up, get their. I was like get y'all some of y'all stories, memories from high school basketball and stuff, and talk about some of that. So hopefully we can do that next time. So we get both y'all on together.
In case you didn't know, Rusty had 2 buzzer beaters in one game playing JV basketball, so he has some stories.
Well, some people think JV points count toward your career total too, but JV don't count. So we're not gonna go with that.
I would pay a lot of money to have the video from that game. I'll never forget that.
I think I remember.
I don't want to talk about it and ruin it.
I don't want to say for sure, but it seems like I remember being at one of those.
Yeah.
And remembering it happened.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember 2 of them for sure.
I remember it very vividly.
I either seen the replay of the one or I was at the one. I can't remember, but I didn't know there was 2 buzzer beaters
in one game.
Oh, they were both in one game.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
He hit one. It's not. I want to hear him talk about it, but not to get into it too much. Yeah, there was a missed shot. He got it on the other side of the goal, tied it up at the buzzer, and then Sean was double teamed on the 3-point line, had to give it up, and Rusty had it for a 3-point game winner.
See, the 3 it seems like I remember hitting the 3 for some reason. I remember that.
Yeah. It was awesome. I mean, like I ain't gonna get into it too much. I'll let him get into it, but I do wish that I had it on video. It's crazy that I remember that like vividly, and I don't remember some of the other stuff. But anyway, yes, plans for a future podcast, and that'll be a very entertaining one because I'm sure you all have a lot of stories. I'm sure you have a lot of stories, Jamar, and I know we'd all want to hear some of them. But I just want to say thank you for anybody who took the time to listen to this, and we're going to try to do our weekly podcast at some point this week, and we don't have a whole lot to punch out in this next one because I would assume, I think next week maybe we'll get into the high school basketball because it's going to take a little bit of briefing and stuff.
We were going to get into the high school, not especially girls' high school basketball, but I knew Logan wouldn't want to miss out on that, so we're going to wait and do it. Maybe
Yeah, we'll maybe do it then. But we'll try to cover that starting next week. But when we got this week, we'll recap the state semis and stuff that happened this past weekend. Maybe talk briefly on the state championship and talk a little bit about some country music and just our normal stuff. If you haven't got a chance yet, go check out our past episodes. We have several player interviews. We have a few special guest episodes. So definitely go check those out. And I guess that's it. We'll close this out. Thank y'all for coming on, and God bless.